Hi, you guys. Welcome to my channel. My name is Karen Odd, and these are Karen's Oddities. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Regardless, I do want to ask that you give this video a thumbs up, comment your thoughts below, even if you disagree with my content, and subscribe to my channel because I'm confident there will be something here that you will enjoy and that you will benefit from listening to or watching. All right, let's get into it. So in this video, I'm talking about Love is Blind Season 6, The Reunion. This is the second video that I do regarding this series as a whole. The first video was just talking about the final episode, the finale, the marriages, and this episode I'm covering essentially my thoughts on how the reunion went. So I'm going to start with just my general thoughts, and then I'm going to get into the specific couples, focused in the order in which they were discussed on the show, or on the episode rather. The initial thought that I had is, I don't give a fuck about the previous couples. I don't give a fuck about the previous couples that were from previous seasons. There was absolutely no need to bring them back. For me, it was just like an opportunity for production to like fill in time. But I feel like there was enough to talk about with the couples that were part of this season that it wasn't necessary to bring back couples from previous seasons. I'm not saying I'm not happy for what's going on in their lives, but I don't care about who got a house, who's pregnant, where they're traveling to. They had their airtime. They had their airtime when they had the reunion. Anyone can Google any of these couples and figure out what their lives are like, go on their social medias. Not that I care to you, because I don't care. I'm here for the couples that just went through the experiment, and I want to know what's happening with them, what the plans are with them. I really thought that was like a cheap shot to like kind of fill in time. I especially thought it was unnecessary to bring back people that never matched up with anyone or never went to the full marriage or went through the full experience or like are now single. I do see how they brought it back full circle. I will say generally production did a good job of like pacing out everything and even bringing back the old couples. I think the episode was about an hour and a half long. It didn't seem too long. It didn't seem too short or rushed. But initially I'm just like, why are these other couples here? Why? I don't care. Like, it's one thing if they're invited to spectate, okay, great. But then to be part of the process, like, I didn't need all that. I didn't need all that. I do think this was the best reunion that Love is Blind has ever put on in terms of the structure of it, although I was just complaining about it. I think the structure of it was well. I think the questions that were asked were well. I think the pacing of it was well. And it was really entertaining. I think it kept me engaged throughout. Sometimes the reunions are just like BS. They don't ask the right questions. They're not mean enough or direct enough, in my opinion. So sometimes they're like, okay, the reunion was okay, but there was something left to be desired. I think that this one, for the most part, covered everything. I think that some couples did get the short end of the stick, specifically Kenneth and Brittany. They were the last couple to be discussed. And even Brittany's like, oh, finally, we get our time, right? Still on general thoughts before I get into specific couples. I think the fashion was really on par. Every time these reunions happen on these series, like Netflix series, everyone's dressed to the nines, wearing a fancy prom pageant dress. Sometimes people don't know how to dress and don't pick the most flattering things, but I do think Vanessa's dress was absolutely stunning. Totally a dress that I would wear. She looked gorgeous in it. And I also think Chelsea's dress was also beautiful, another dress that I would wear. Everyone else, they looked nice, but no one stood out to me like those two. I thought it was interesting that they opened up the questions from online before they were able to cover all the couples. Like, they hadn't fully covered Chelsea and Jimmy, and they hadn't fully covered Kenneth and Brittany before opening up the questions. I thought that was interesting. And maybe that's not how the actual order happened when like physically there, but that's how production decided to like organize the show. I thought that was a little bit silly, and it was a little bit annoying that they wouldn't cover all the couples, because like OCD in my mind is like, cover all the couples first, then open it up for questions. Usually there's a presentation, then you open it up for questions, not the questions in the middle of the presentation, then finish the presentation. The two couples that I cared the most about and that I wanted to like hear and learn the most about were saved till the end, the last 30 minutes, which I think was interesting approach. And those couples for me were Jimmy and Chelsea and Kenneth and Brittany. My last general note before I go into more detail is, I still can't stand Kenneth. I cannot stand Kenneth, and fuck that job that he has. Fuck his job. Let's get into the detail now. I'm just going into details that I think are relevant to mention, things that stood out to me as I watched this show. May resonate with you, may not. Comment your thoughts below if there was something that I missed or something that you think was more jaw-dropping or interesting to talk about. I really appreciate that Jeremy got asked some very good and direct questions. In the past, I know I'm not the only one that said it. Like I said in my other video, I've read on Reddit different things while the episodes are going. I think a lot of these reunions leave things to be desired in terms of Nick and Vanessa aren't always asking questions as directly as I would or as another interviewer would. And maybe it's not up to them, right? It's up to production deciding how they're organizing and formatting the questions in the interview. But this time, Jeremy got asked some very good, direct questions. And what I really appreciated about this reunion and why I say it's the best one, when the question was not answered, either Vanessa or Nick were double backing and getting clarity on getting an answer for that question. That's what I do. If I'm asking a fucking question, best believe that question is going to be direct as hell. You're not going to be confused what I'm asking because I know what answer I'm trying to get. And secondly, if you don't answer that question the first time, best believe I'm going to double back and ask that question again, clarify, or just repeat it because you're just ignoring the question, right? That's how an interview should be when we're doing these type of reunions. That's what we want to know. We want to know, did you understand what you were doing when X, Y, and Z, or what did you mean by X? Ask the direct question. I mean, for the audience at home, ask the direct question. And thank you, Vanessa and Nick and production, for asking the hard questions, specifically related to his previous engagement. So we're talking about Jeremy now, the fact that he was previously engaged and whether or not that had been disclosed. That was a very direct question that a lot of us had, and I'm glad that was asked. And the second question, grilling him on the location. Like, motherfucker, did you know that your location was shared? Do you understand how locations work? Do you know that when you move, that shit updates? Like, what did you think was going to happen there? I'm still torn on whether or not Sarah Ann and Jeremy slept together or not, honestly. I think, well, I see both sides, right? If I was Laura and my fiance was out with a girl that he was talking to, basically dating, whether or not they had physically been dating, they were emotionally dating for a while, that I know is generally attractive and alcohol's involved and it's a weekend and it's late at night, I'm thinking they fucked. If I'm Laura, I'm thinking they fucked. And if they didn't fuck, they made out and they got close to it. And especially the fact that he came home, I think it was 6 a.m. That's what it was, a final number that I heard. Like, if they didn't fuck, they definitely made out. They definitely made out. And the fact that Jeremy was so hung up on physical attraction with Sarah Ann, that's just another indicator that there was definitely something physical that took place that night. To what extent it was, we will never know. Unless one day, like Sarah Ann with her big ass mouth, because it is a big mouth, and with her going on social media, unless one day she reveals that to one of her friends and someone leaks it, or she actually fesses up. But we will never know. We will never know. Yeah. And then I think about on the other side of it, right? If I was Sarah Ann and I had gone about things the way that she did, and I had connected with that man at the bar and we're talking, and if I'm attracted to him physically and emotionally, I'm not saying I'm gonna fuck him because I don't do that. I don't like fuck on the first date, but I'm definitely gonna make out with him, engaged or not. And you can come for me in the comments. Just, I don't care. I'm gonna make out with that man. So that's me though, and you guys let me know if you think that they got physical or not. I was not surprised by the fact that Jeremy and Sarah Ann are together. Is anyone surprised? Let's be honest. I loved when, I think Laura did a great job in that conversation. You can tell she still had a lot of emotion about it, but I think she did a great job handling that conversation, asking questions, responding, giving very emotionally mature answers, which is super important. And it wasn't like, it didn't seem forced or rehearsed. It was just like, she's very sure of herself. And it sounds like she's gotten the better end of the stick because Jeremy was shit on a stick. Speaking of shit on a stick, I think that when the Laura and Sarah conversation was aired back, I really appreciated seeing that. It gave me a little bit more respect for Sarah Ann that conversation even happened. I think that was a good conversation to be had. She did seem genuine. I understood where she was coming from. But let's be honest, at the end of the day, girl, you knew that was messy as fuck to send that message. But let's be honest, as a messy girl, because I'm a messy girl, I can be a messy girl, I probably would have did the same shit. Because at the end of the day, life is short. If I have a connection with that man and you do too, and you guys are not married yet, I don't really give a shit. I'm going to let him know The door is still open. You know what I mean? I would have done the same thing probably. But it's different when you're on TV, because that's just a whole other fucking ballpark, right? You are going to be blasted on social media for months and months and months to come. And it's going to live out there forever. So that's just like when you're on TV, which I have never been on, but I could just imagine just by seeing like the repercussions, and you'd think that they'd keep this in mind, right? You have to remember all that shit is going to live on forever. All the memes that they create, all the short videos, the shorts, all these social media platforms that are just outrageous now, all of that shit lives on. It's not going away. So I think that future cast members should consider everything lives on. It does not die. And yes, give them a little bit of alcohol. You're filming for X amount of days straight. You forget that the cameras are there, but baby, don't drink too much and don't forget the cameras are there. Don't forget. When they showed the Laura and Sarah conversation, and Laura mentions that Jeremy said he didn't want to seem just as bad as Jimmy. You could tell Jeremy was absolutely shitting himself. Like, you could just see, he just looked like he was just gonna fall out. He was like turning redder and redder as the cameras would pan on him. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. Make him shit. Make him uncomfortable, because goddamn, you have to take responsibility for your actions. Like, we're adults here. And if you're going to be a piece of shit, own it till the day you die. And he clearly was in the hot seat, and you could tell because his face was turning so red. So red. But I was happy for that, because, you know, when you hurt people's feelings and you're intentional, you're not honest about it, and you're a shitty human being, you need to be on the seat of fire. I thought it was really interesting how, I don't know who said it. Maybe it was Chelsea. Maybe it was Chelsea. When she mentioned that Sarah Ann unfollowed all the girls from the group, but she continued to follow all of their mans. That was interesting and questionable. My jaw dropped when Chelsea was like, yeah, I've seen Jeremy, and every time I see him, they're always broken up. So messy. Such a messy statement to make. And I just couldn't believe she said that, because I'm like, here's Sarah Ann and Jeremy acting like their shit don't stink, like everything is perfect. Sarah Ann looking like she was pulled out of the 2002 Prom Queen magazine. And yeah, my jaw dropped, because it's like, everyone wants to act like their shit doesn't stink, but be honest, be honest that you're having problems. And at the end, they had to, right? Because someone called them out on it. But I thought they were doing great. I would have never thought they were having issues, which is just a reminder that it's like, people are always going to portray their best side. They're always going to portray the best thing online, on TV. They're going to put up a front. But no one's relationship or lives are perfect. Everyone has things that they're dealing with, and we all have ups and downs in our relationships. But it's like, you got to be honest about it. I think that when they brought out, I don't have a lot to say about Trevor. When they brought him out, I had already read that stuff on Reddit. As I mentioned in my other video, I was reading things on Reddit. Sometimes they're spoilers, sometimes they're not. But at least on Reddit, you can see the flare that says it's going to be a spoiler, so you just decide if you want to read it or not. I had already seen that information about Trevor. I had seen the text messages already, because Reddit is really good at investigating things. When they brought out Trevor and he couldn't figure out what to say, it was cringy as fuck for me. It was cringy as fuck for me. I still am not sure whether or not he intended to be present and to be honest in his part of the experiment with Chelsea. I don't know if he was actually hurt or if it was just a show. I think it was a little bit of both, right? I think he probably did enjoy and feel a connection with Chelsea, but I think he also wanted whatever he could get out of this. And I think he was honest when he said that he needs therapy. But I also think he was saying exactly what he knows he needs to say, and he was trying to redeem himself. And even when they first asked him the question, all the words that he planned to say, that he even said himself, he forgot. All that shit that you planned to say, that little speech that left you, you had prepared that speech to redeem yourself and hoping that you could still grow your personal fitness business, even if it was with the bitch you were with or not. So it was very interesting, but he owned that they're a toxic couple, and that girl that shared that stuff is still toxic. And honestly, they're probably still fucking. Let's be honest. They're probably still fucking. Clay and AD. I'm going to mention something about Clay, then I'm going to go back to AD because she comes back at the end and you guys know what I'm talking about. I thought that Clay was super sincere and genuine in his just like response to the questions that were being asked of him. I wanted to reach through the screen and hug him. And when he backed out at the altar, I wasn't angry with him. I get it, right? But it's like, I could see why so many people would be upset with him, right? Because he went all the way to the altar to say no, etc. But at the end of the day, like, they have to have some people go to the altar and say no. If not, there's no fucking show. There's no fucking finale episode. You know what I mean? There has to be someone to fucking do that. And I'm sure that was worked out with production. He probably could have cut it out before that, but they said, no, man, we need you to go through, or hey, we'll pay you more if you go through. I don't know what negotiations happen. I wanted to hug Clay. You can see he is regretful. It's genuine. His apology is genuine. His hurt is genuine. He knows he fucked up. He wishes he could have done differently. He wishes he would have done different. I wanted to hug Clay. That's my comment here. Clay got deep. Clay got super deep, talking about, the upbringing of just men in general, Black men, Black households, this idea of like what a husband is supposed to be. And I think he started getting into it, which I kind of hate that like production either cut that off or they cut that off, or they switched the subject. When he started talking about how he was an athlete and all this, what I was sensing he was going to go into is like this idea that like men are just taught to like suppress their emotions. And it's just my reminder, right? Like I have a lot of guy friends that have shared it with me in the past, and people that I've dated where it's like, yeah, men are like, you have to suppress your emotions. Like you're not really, my brother, I have two brothers, right? We've talked about this where it's like, it's not seen as like manly for you to cry or share your emotions. And the fact that like men die so much earlier because they don't share their emotions, because they keep that inside, it's just like a really eye-opening statement and just reinforce that idea. And I wish that they would have let any men jump in at that point and dive into that a little bit more, just to like reaffirm this idea of like the importance of mental health, wellness, especially for men. When they asked Jessica the question about her daughter, she could not get her words out. And I'm just like, chill, get this girl off the screen. Like, if you're not ready to talk and you know it's going to be an interview, I hope you hired like, what do they call it? Not a publicist, a public relations person, like PR. I hope PR worked with you and you worked with the PR person before your interview, just so that you don't sound like a fucking idiot. Because she couldn't get her words out. And at first I'm like, let me fast forward this, because I cringe when it's an interview and people can't get their word out, which I'm not saying it hasn't happened to me. I've been interviewed on camera before and I can't get my fucking words out. But that's how you have to prepare. You have to be prepared for the questions that are going to come up. Yeah, I wasn't expecting her to freeze like that. And I know I shouldn't be talking shit about it, but I just did. Jimmy. Jimmy and Chelsea, it was pretty short. I didn't really care about what Jessica had to say about the interview that he did, girl. And the back and forth about how much time. Ain't nobody give a fuck. Are y'all fucking or not? Are y'all together or not? Okay, we don't give a fuck. I wanted to know what couples are dating. Are they still dating? I wanted to know, are Brittany and Kenneth dating different people? Are Chelsea and Jimmy dating different people? They didn't get into that. It would have been nice to know that. Like, why wasn't that asked, right? I thought it was interesting that Chelsea was getting jealous. You could see it on her face. And why am I smiling? Because I'm terrible. You could see that she was getting jealous when they were talking about Jimmy's attraction to Jessica. And where he says, I think you're drop dead gorgeous or whatever. Like, you could just, and then the camera person is like panning in on Chelsea's face. Well, like, no one wants to fucking hear that, right? Your ex-fiance talking about someone else. Shit, did he ever say something like that to you? Probably not, right? So that shit hurts. For a minute, I thought that they weren't going to address the Megan Fox lookalike thing. I'm glad that they didn't go in on her any harder. And they probably didn't, because production and everyone sitting in that motherfucking room saw all the things where Chelsea has been dragged through the trenches for saying that she resembled Megan Fox. I think what they could have done, which I know they probably didn't because they're like, she's already had enough. What they could have done was asked her, why did you decide to bring that up? That would have been my question. If I was the interviewee, And I was Vanessa, I would have said, Chelsea, I know there's been a lot online said about you resembling Megan Fox. Let's play that clip back. And let's play the clip back. And then I would have asked her, why would you think of bringing that up in that moment in the way in which you did? Dead silence. Because I want to know what, you clearly brought that up because you thought that was going to help you, but bitch, did you not realize he's going to see you eventually, honey? Anyway, I'm glad they at least touched on it. I understand why they didn't go deep, because it was I'm sure she's still getting a lot of shit online. I think she answered very gracefully that she laughs at it, laughs at herself, etc. I think that's great. But let's be honest, based on what we saw on the show, she's probably not doing well because of those comments, because the insecurity was there way before she knew this Megan Fox thing was going to be a thing. So I hope that if Chelsea ever watches this, which I doubt she will because my platform is very small right now, but if you ever watch this, I do hope you're taking care of yourself, and I hope that you're not taking all that stuff personal. I can't imagine being dragged online by thousands and thousands of people and seeing things, and I just hope that you're taking time to protect yourself. I think that you're a beautiful girl. Do you look like Megan Fox? A little bit, but not really. And I would have never said that. But yeah, you're still a beautiful girl, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. Okay, almost done. Kenneth. I can't fucking stand Kenneth. Kenneth, if you ever watch this, I can't fucking stand you. I cannot stand you. I can't stand you. I can't stand Kenneth. I think he was a person that I like the least in the whole series. I'll take Matthew over Kenneth. I can't stand Kenneth. He pissed me off. Anyway, Kenneth could have gotten a more direct question. Okay, Nick, you fucked up there. The question was something like, some people said that you were not very sincere. I don't remember how the question was worded, but essentially that he wasn't very emotional about the breakup. Don't ask that question. Ask something more direct. He should have had way more pressure than what he had. He did not get enough pressure for his question. They talked about him being on his phone. And when the question was brought up about how he responded to the breakup, about him being a gaslighter, about how online they said he seemed like a gaslighter. No, you should have said, you really gaslit Brittany. It seemed like you weren't even considering how much this hurt her. What do you have to say about that? That's what the fuck the question should have been. Something like that. When Nick asked that question, Kenneth basically gaslit Nick. He gave his fucking stupid ass, general, political answer. Everyone's different, diplomatic answer. Motherfucker, answer the question. Answer the question. Apologize. Saying that potentially you could have handled that situation differently. That just shows that you're a piece of shit. You don't learn anything. And the fact that Brittany and him are still friends, chill. Let me get out of here. I got 3 more points on here. Let me get out of here. But I was just why? You could tell, my eyelash is folding in. You could tell when Brittany was talking about the fact that they talk every day and they're still friends, she was getting choked up. She still has emotions for this man, which is fine. But I'm just girl, there's so many men in the world. You're a great person. That's great if you still want to be friends with him. I think you're stupid for wanting to be friends with him after he did that to you and treated you the way he did. But you could tell she still feels some type of emotion from him. I have 3 more things on here. When I saw that AD connected with Matthew, at that point, I just wanted to throw something at my TV. I wanted to turn the TV off and walk the fuck away. The fact that AD was still willing to connect with Matthew, even if he reached out first, shows the level of desperation. Desperation. That's all that is. And I'm not saying, and mind you, I won't say we've all had moments of desperation. I've had some moments of desperation. I can't say I wouldn't have connected with Matthew, right? Depending on where my mind was at. Ask me today, if I had gone through this experiment today and then Clay and I broke up, would I have? No. I wouldn't have. Me from a couple years ago, yeah, I would have gone out with Matthew and I would have gone on date. I would have fucking created a dating profile and I would have dated a lot of guys just to get over the breakup. Me from a couple years ago. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But the fact that AD was still willing to go out with Matthew after knowing that he was playing both sides of the fence, even if he reached out first, just shows how desperate AD is for someone to love her and want her, but want her in like a marriage way, right? Because we know that people want to sleep with her. She has a great body. She makes that very clear. But it just shows how desperate she is for love and someone to want her more than just what she can provide physically. And I feel very sorry for her. And I was so like embarrassed and like grossed out by the fact that she would still be willing to do that. And it just really speaks to how desperate she is. That's what I have to say. And you can come for me in the comments for being that harsh, but I'm just like, that just shows desperation. That just shows desperation. Desperation. And it wasn't one date. It was multiple dates. At some point he cooked for her. And I'm not shaming if they slept together, but I'm just like, girl, do better. Do better. Like, if anything, I would have connected back with an ex. You know what I mean? Connect with an ex, use that to like get over my breakup. But I'm like, Matthew? And she did say he was cute. And it was so funny watching Clay during the whole thing, even though he already knew about it. Matthew is cute. Matthew could be my type. I mean, I don't have a type. There are a lot of type of guys that I find attractive, but Matthew looks like someone that I've dated in the past and someone that I would date. He's a cute guy. But that ain't enough. That is not enough. That's not an excuse for you to open that door again. I'll move on. Last two things on here, Chelsea and Kwame. There's a fly in here. Chelsea and Kwame. Again, I already said I didn't give a fuck about the past couples. I still don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about Chelsea. I don't give a fuck about Kwame. I don't give a fuck about if she works for Netflix, if she owns, I don't care. I did not care. All that stuff they could have saved it. I guess it was helpful because she now works for Love is Blind, which is cool. She has a career that she loves and enjoys, and I'm sure she's making bank, and now she's part of like the experiment and showing that it's like this experiment works. But honey, that marriage is, I won't say it's false, but I won't say it's fraudulent, but there's something off about Chelsea and Kwame's marriage, and I'm not the only one that said this. Look online. Several people have said things. You can just tell something is off. Something is not okay. Something is not genuine about that marriage. And she dominates all the conversations. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, he can't even get a word out, and then he's getting word out, and then she's correcting, like, bitch, let the man talk. Is it a fucking man or not? Let the man talk. I don't care for them. Thank God for Izzy fixing that credit, girl. Because we know his credit was not good. That's all I have, you guys. One thing I'll say on credit, though. We know his credit is not good. And we also know your credit can be repaired and you can take it right back down under to where it was. So make wise financial decisions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with something that I said. Will you be watching the next season? I know I will. I know not all of them are going to be as good as this one. Some may be worse, some may be better, etc. But I think I enjoy the series because, I mean, it's kind of romantic. I enjoy it for the romance and I enjoy it for the drama. Let's be honest. I like both. I like the romance piece. I like the drama. I like the idea of people falling in love. I like seeing that. Some of these episodes would make me cry because I'm like, this is so sweet. Like the things that they do for each other and like how they fall in love. Like, I love that as a girl and as a woman and as someone that believes in like love and marriage and etc. I love seeing that. And I love the drama too. When people are being messy as fuck, when they meet afterward and you don't know who's fucking who and all this shit. I love all that shit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much.